And welcome back to the Meditation and Mindfulness Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Zaremba, and this week, in episode 9, we will discuss the luminous fibers that hold the world together. We will discuss the ascent of the Kundalini up the Sushumna to reach and bridge to the crown chakra, to open up the 1,000-petal lotus of light and attain enlightenment. No. This week we will talk about meditation, though, as we do every week, because hey, it's a meditation podcast. What are you gonna do? Well, there's lots of things to talk about when we talk about meditation, and I think meditation's darn important, and I assume you do too, which is why you're here, listening to me on episode 9, and I thank you for being here, and it's nice to know that you're out there listening. So send me any feedback, and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. Give me a comment and give me a like. Let me know that you're out there. I appreciate it. So this week, we're going to talk about how to... Let's talk about how to raise the Kundalini. First off, without concentration, the ability to raise the Kundalini manually is almost impossible. Why? Because you have to concentrate. Kundalini is a latent force until activated. It lies latent at the base chakra, at the root chakra. And some refer to the Kundalini as serpent-like because it ascends up the body's central channel. And in its ascent, it can be likened to a serpent rising up in being poised to strike. Because there has to be some energy in order for that serpent to rise. Without a trigger, without an awakening, it lies dormant. It lies asleep at the base of the spine. So the spine is our central column. So in our etheric body, in our energy body, subtle body, double, whatever you want to call it, aura, the central channel is known as the Sushumna. You can just call it the central channel if you don't want to get all fancy. And the central channel is the one where the Kundalini rises up to the 6th chakra, which is the third eye. And the Kundalini can rise up to the third eye via concentration. So when we concentrate, we are piercing the veil. And when we pierce the veil, can I say P? Does this thing work? When we pierce the veil, it's like popping through a wall. It's literally like piercing through a membrane, a dimensional membrane, because we get caught up in this dimension all too often, don't you think? And when I refer to dimensions, one of the things I discovered is that we live in a multi-dimensional reality. And unless you've experienced this, well, you can just listen to people like me talk about it, or you can read about it in books, or you can meditate and actually have the experience of multi-dimensional reality. So what is multi-dimensional reality? The physical, the energy, all these different bodies. So we live within a multidimensional reality. The multidimensional reality is difficult to describe from this dimension, because in this dimension, we are using the medium of sound, vibration, that is triggering a response in your ear right now. Ooh, yeah. And This is how we communicate here in the third dimension, at least right now. Now, if we had multidimensional access, we could possibly communicate telepathically, meaning without sound, without words, without utterances coming from our mouths entering your ears. And we would communicate on another level, on another dimension. There's a intuitive knowing that you develop when you meditate. And this intuitive knowing is your, what my teacher used to call, the second attention. You have your first attention. Your first attention is the world of the known. You know your first attention very well. Your personality rules, your identity rules this first dimension. It's everything that you have in life that's perceptible. Is that a word? That's everything that's on the table, everything that's in front of you, everything that is known. Think of it as an island in a vast ocean, and all you know is the island, and there's this vast unknown surrounding it. And so the first attention does not like to go beyond that island. It's very comfortable on that island. And seldom, it might dip its toe in the water once in a while, but seldom does it go beyond the breakers into the vast depths of the unconscious, the unknown. Because it takes courage. And that first attention persona doesn't have a whole lot of courage. It's got a whole lot of knowledge, and there's a difference. It knows everything about everything. It's super smart and can, really organize its shelves in a way, in perhaps even in alphabetical order. And, but yeah, around that island of the known is the vast unknown depth of the waters, the subconscious, the unconscious, the beyond. So we have an ego, we have a personality that's very comfortable with the world of the known, and it likes to stay there. And the majority of our energy is focused on that level, which is why we seek meditation. We seek to go beyond the known, to get out of our comfort zone. And in order to do this, we have to train little by little. It's like going for a swim out in the ocean. When we're babies, we go to the edge of the ocean, and we might run in a few inches of water, and then the wave comes and we run back toward the shore. As we get older, we get a little more comfortable, we get a little more courageous, and we want to go out a little further. We go out perhaps past the breakers for the first time, and we're in that ocean, and we feel a freedom, a sense of disillusion of the self, a sense of vast beyond, unknowable in its totality. Only that which can be experienced, and even what's beyond experience. So I hope this analogy makes sense, because when we meditate, we go little by little, each day, week, month, year, into a deeper part of ourselves. The vast majority, it's like an iceberg. We're the ego, the identity, the known, the body, is just the surface. It's the tip of the iceberg. But what's beneath the surface is perhaps vastly larger and contains volumes. I don't know. So we go and we dip our foot in. we go out past the breakers. We learn how to swim. We learn how to go under the water, dive deep, perhaps even to the bottom. And this process gives us a new perspective on life, a new perception. Because before that, we only had the perspective from the shoreline. We only saw things from the known. And when we start to go into the unknown through meditation, we bring back a little bit less of ourselves. There's a little bit more of the unknown present within our daily lives. It's I guess you could use the analogy that we're being washed away every single time we go into the ocean. Every single time we meditate, there's a cleansing that takes place. So when you meditate every day, you get into a maintenance level meditation. And it's important to occasionally run the marathon. So it's kind of like, let me explain it like you're working out, and you're kind of working out just to kind of maintain a certain level of endurance, a certain level of health, a certain level of exercise and fitness. So, but eventually you kind of reach a level that you stagnate and plateau. And it's necessary to push beyond a certain level that you've been before. And so this is what the value of an enlightened teacher can bring. So as I said earlier, I had an enlightened teacher. He used to use this analogy all the time about the known and the unknown, and how little by little we are going into the unknown more and more until there is less and less of the ego personality, which is what's causing all the problems. You see, there's no problem, man, on the other side. I don't know if it's easy as that, but surely it's a lot of our problems are imagined. They are dramatized. They are played out within our own internal dialogue every single day. We're chatterboxes, talking to ourselves incessantly, narrating the entire thing, coaching us on, you can do it, or ew, or judging, constantly judging. And so this is simply the inner dialogue, what is clogging up your perception right now. The inner dialogue is what's clogging up your thoughts. So this is what we need to stop, this incessant internal chatter. This chatter that is just clogging up the mind. The mind is not the problem. It's the chatter. The mind itself is clear, and it's flexible, and it takes any form that it's, placed in, I guess. And so over time, we get sick and tired of just this incessant chatter. And maybe it's because we become more aware of it, because we've had moments of pause, of silence, where we've been beyond thought, even if it was for a moment, been beyond this mental chatter, just stopped for a while, and it was just peace and quiet and the sound of crickets. And it was the most enjoyable, blissful, peaceful moment that we've had. And this little glimpse of meditation is what inspires you to go beyond and further, to know and trust. And it takes training. The reason why we train every day is not simply to overcome the conditioning that we've accrued in this life. Of course, it's for that reason. But it's also to push beyond the current perceptual limitations that we've become accustomed to. You put a fish in a small fish bowl and it stays small. You put it in a big bowl and it grows bigger. So we're absolute products of our environment. But our environment is largely our own thoughts, our own chatter, our own creation, our own narration. There's only so long that you can blame the environment. Once you awaken that to the possibility that you're responsible for your mind, you're responsible for your awakening, that it becomes no one to blame, nothing to blame, no matter what. We can't blame the past any longer. We can't blame that coworker that just gets on our nerves all the time any longer. It's all up to us. So that responsibility is part of the mindfulness practice. Full responsibility requires full mindfulness. Responsibility for every thought, every breath, every moment, every energetic interaction, exchange, output, intake, ultimately becomes a responsibility. Now, it sounds quite complicated and difficult. Well, that's just because I'm making it sound like that. I'm not really making it sound like that, but I'm trying to describe a process that is very simple because ultimately you don't have to think about it. It's already your state. You don't have to try. You're already there. This is why meditation is the training that gets you there. There is a higher dimension. There is the higher consciousness that is ultimately who and what we are, the core of our being, consciousness, pure consciousness, beyond limitation. It's all been said before. But if you're new to this subject, there is an idea that there is a beyond. We must have faith. We must trust in life. You're here. There must be something good about it. We've all felt good. We've all enjoyed life. We've had moments of love. We've had moments of going beyond. And of course, there's, well, I don't even know. I can't say of course anything. What the hell do I know? But I sure hope and I have faith that life is good. And I think it is. I've got evidence to prove it. And experience as well. And you have to have your own experience. You can't just listen to some crazy guy like me tell you what's what. The whole point of this is to find out on your own, to meditate, to take your meditation responsibly in your own hands, to take responsibility for your meditation, to take responsibility for your awakening. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to push you forward. Well, I guess there are those of us that can help if you're interested. And, it's kind of like having a personal trainer. If you're someone who doesn't have the motivation to work out on their own, if you're someone who doesn't have the knowledge of how to work out, if you're someone who, has motivation for 2 months and then doesn't go to the gym for 2 months and then loses all that ground, well, then a trainer is exactly what you would need for success. Well, the same thing with meditation. We are coaches, we are trainers, we are teachers, and we're here to help. So if you're new to meditation, if you're new to this whole journey, then the key is to get started meditating right away, because you need to develop, you need to try before you can be helped, if that makes sense. The more experience you have on your own of trying to meditate, well, then the better you can be helped by somebody like me or another coach out there or another teacher. Because when you start to have your own experiences, you can kind of get to a point of comfortability. And as I said before, it becomes sort of like a maintenance meditation. And occasionally you need to train for a marathon, because it's these marathons, and I don't necessarily mean the length of your meditation. You could do a 26-hour meditation. Not necessarily. It could be the intensity of your meditation. It could be the commitment to meditating while you meditate. A lot of us sit down. Yeah, we're meditating every day, but we're just sitting there and spacing out. We're just sitting there and allowing our mind to think thoughts, maybe trying a little bit here and there. Does that sound familiar? We've all had those days, but you got to catch yourself in that act. You got to whip your mind into shape. No one's going to do it for you. You have to take the reins. This is what it's all about. Until you take the reins and drive, there's going to be no change. Your mind will stay the same. You'll repeat the same thoughts and you'll have the same experiences day after day. It's not magic, folks. It's work. It's ultimately no different than working out. In order to change your body, you have to put in a lot of hard work and discipline and commitment over time with patience. It's no different in meditation. Now, the good thing about meditation is most people will immediately feel better. It's not like you have to wait weeks or months to get results. The good thing about meditation is it's different than the body, because you're dealing with, the body is on its own cycle of a slightly slower 3D matter, 24-hour cycle. There's multiple length cycles of the body, where the entire body turns over. I think it's 6 months. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it could be 6 months or something like that. 6 or 9 months maybe, where all your cells have turned over. So you have a whole new body. So the body changes a little bit slower. But the energy body and your mind can change in an instant. The issue is that it's not that it's difficult to change, it's difficult to hold the change because of the habitual patterning and the karmas that we've accrued are holding our mind in a certain form, which holds our thoughts in a certain range. Everything operates on a dimensional frequency. If we are operating within a lower range, then our thoughts will operate within a lower range. And you notice this when you meditate. Even within one meditation session, you can jump to higher planes of consciousness, higher dimensions. And this is done through frequency, because you actually alter the frequency of your energy body, because your energy body is your emotions. And it's how you feel, and feeling is how you perceive it, if you will, through feeling. And remember, as I've said, feeling is a lost art. I don't mean the type of feeling of touch, physical touch. That's different. That's sensorial. Feeling is beyond the five senses. I put it in the category of the sixth sense, if you will. I'm sure that there are classifications and systems out there that have classified the higher senses, and I'm sure that there are. But just to make it simple, I consider the ability to feel very much in tune with our intuition. When you have that intuitive sense, the intuitive knowing, it's a subtle, finer energy. And a more subtle, refined, subtler plane of energy is a higher frequency. So when your frequency is vibrating low, and this is just due to either energy, not checking your emotions, not keeping your emotions in check, meaning allowing yourself to get pulled down by the world. There's all sorts of things that can kind of pull you down and make you depressed. There's always something in the news. If you're really happy and you want to get depressed, just watch the news. I'm sure you'll find something. And this all goes toward your mindfulness responsibility. When you're responsible for what you put in your mind, then you'll start to become discerning about which activities, which individuals that you allow yourself to be around. And we've all made these choices before, and we've all made mistakes before with what we put our time and energy into, who we are around. And as we grow up and get wiser, well, then we make the proper choices that will lead toward a more responsible energy field. Ultimately we are cultivating an energy field with our bodies, with our emotional body, with our mind. Because the more you can cultivate a higher energy field and maintain it and hold it, the easier your meditation. Excuse me. The more, the better you'll feel all the time. And this goes back to a very ancient practice of developing this body, is developing the bliss body, the body of bliss. This is something where you don't just feel good in meditation, ecstatic, blissful, love, whatever, but you actually feel like that all the time, and it just deepens. And this is a real practice. So, but it takes an absolute responsibility in this world. If you're going to live in the world, you have to absolutely be mindful of what you're exposing yourself to. You have to absolutely be vigilant and diligent about your meditation practice each day, because that's what helps to cleanse and increase the vibratory frequency of your energy body, which affects your physical body, and of course your mind. So this is all goes back to single-pointed mind concentration ability. Imagine it. If I can take the entire chaotic mess of a mind and hold it at one point for even just a few seconds, harnessing that amount of energy into a single point, you can see how that would increase your frequency and increase your energy. And this is what releases the Kundalini. So this is the penetrative mind, the single-pointed mind that you can practice and you can train for. And you're going to run that marathon one day, my friend. And you're going to get the gold medal. I promise. Just keep training. One day. So, as you hold your mind perfectly still on that point, the Kundalini rushes to that point. There's no way it can't. And we sense it and we pull back. And there's the fear. The fear of going into the unknown. And this is a natural reaction. It's probably part of our survival mechanism, but we don't live in a world where we have to be on our toes constantly. When you're at home and you're in your safe zone and you're comfortable, you can let go and you can go into the unknown and you'll be safe. Or will you be? You have to be careful out there. You don't want to get stuck in the unknown. Which is why when you develop your concentration You're developing your muscle. And muscle's important, my friend. You don't want to run into any real muscular astral beings out there. They might manhandle you. And nobody wants to be astrally manhandled. That doesn't sound good. I don't know. I tease, but I do and I don't. Because there is a real... Let's say there's a real consequence to not being strong with your meditation and going into an astral plane where it's not that you'll die, you won't be hurt, but you might come back feeling really spaced out. You might come back feeling worse than when you went in. You might go in to meditation excited, and then all of a sudden you get this kind of weird feeling, and you start to think weird thoughts, and then you kind of go in like a downward spiral with your thoughts, or you think about this person that you don't like, or something's bothering you. And then you come out of it, and you're like, what the heck just happened? I just wasted 20 minutes sitting there thinking about something that was bothering me, where I could have been exercising my mind, exercising my willpower, practicing my single-pointed concentration technique, because the single-pointed concentration technique will make your mind strong. It will make your concentration ability stronger. And it will give you the power, the penetrative power, to poke holes in dimensions. And this is how we get to the other side. So I will leave you with that, my friends. It was a blast today, and we blasted through to the other side. And I hope you enjoyed the ride with me today. Thank you, and namaste. We'll see you guys in the next podcast. Don't forget, catch me on Facebook, Rob Zaremba. Find my Facebook group, Meditation and Mindfulness, just like the podcast name. And we will see y'all and listen in the next podcast. Thank you so much. Take care.